End-grain wood pieces always grab attention, but interestingly, they're not very popular among experienced woodworkers, and for good reason. For a long time, this material was rarely used in interiors, mostly due to instability. That started to change with the rise of epoxy resin in woodworking. These days, you'll often see expensive coffee tables made from thick slabs with natural live edges. But I take a slightly different approach. Instead of using a single slab, I join multiple end-grain cuts into one solid panel. And honestly, you can create something beautiful from almost any log. Even plain-looking wood can gain depth and character after processing. But there's one critical factor you can't ignore: moisture. Too much moisture doesn't just lead to cracking or warping, it can also prevent epoxy from curing properly. A little moisture might be okay. But push it too far and you can ruin the entire project. Also, keep in mind, narrow end-grain cuts almost always crack during drying, and it can happen even when moisture is still well above 20%. So don't rely on how the wood looks. Get a moisture meter, even a basic one helps, or track the weight over time to see when it stabilizes. As for wood species, you can work with almost anything, as long as it's dry. Even partially decayed areas can be used. On my channel, you'll find projects made from all kinds of wood: chestnut, acacia, elm, linden, mulberry, maple, chokeberry, apple, hornbeam, magnolia, cedar, eucalyptus, some mystery logs cut down by city services, and even ancient bog oak. But different woods behave differently. When epoxy first hits the wood, it acts a lot like water. The fibers absorb it and swell slightly. Then the resin cures and hardens. Molecular bonds begin to form, strength increases, but at the same time the resin shrinks. The amount of shrinkage depends on the type of epoxy and additives, but some degree of shrinkage is always there. And all of this creates internal stress inside the piece, which means warping is very likely, and cracking is always a possibility. If you're building something for yourself, no big deal. But if you ship a table across the world, fixing it later becomes a whole different story. In traditional woodworking, only a limited number of species are commonly used, but end-grain work gives you more freedom. You can use parts of the tree most woodworkers avoid, like root sections with wild, complex grain. And thanks to epoxy, softer woods can become surprisingly strong. The resin penetrates deep into the fibers, creating something closer to a composite material, almost like fiberglass or carbon fiber. In fact, medium-density woods can sometimes be more stable than very hard ones, because they absorb resin better and distribute internal stress more evenly. And here's the thing, working with end grain is a bit like playing the stock market. Making quick gains is that hard, but never invest more into a project than you're willing to lose.